Hi guys, Jose here from Train Me Please, and today we are going to be talking about this guy here, the clicker. That's right, what does it do? What is it good for? Should you use one? Coming up. Okay, it usually goes like this. You cue a certain behavior, or you wait for your dog to offer a certain behavior, and then you use your clicker to click and offer an additional reinforcer, usually food, in order to increase the future frequency of that behavior. If you click and treat a certain behavior, it is more likely to happen in the future. But how does it all work? Is the clicker a secondary or conditioned reinforcer? Is it a bridging stimulus? Is it a marker stimulus? Let's start at the beginning. A delay in delivery of reinforcement can have a negative impact in the rate of learning. Here's an example. Say, for example, you call your dog. Your dog comes to you and you wait 20 seconds to reinforce that behavior. By that time, the dog is likely to be doing something else, and your impact on the recall behavior will be much lower. On the other hand, if you reinforce the dog straight away, she will know that it was because of the recall behavior, and learning will be maximized. Having some sort of signal that you can use between the correct behavior and the delivery of reinforcement will help the dog learn faster. Sometimes you might have your dog far from you, and when the correct behavior is performed, you can't deliver immediate reinforcement. With a clicker, you have a tool that buys you some time between the occurrence of the correct behavior and when you actually manage to offer additional reinforcement. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and hit that like button so that more people can find this content. Among animal trainers, it is usually agreed that using a clicker will help the learner. However, studies comparing using a clicker versus direct food delivery are scarce and a little bit inconclusive. In most of the peer-reviewed studies that I checked, the behaviors used are usually fairly simple and done in very close proximity to the trainer. I would expect that for behaviors that happen at a certain distance from the trainer, or behaviors that require razor-sharp precision, the difference between using a clicker and direct food delivery would be bigger. For something simple, like the dog sitting in front of you or doing a high five, the difference between using a clicker and direct food delivery would possibly be pretty small. Here are the three main properties of clickers. 1. The clicker works as secondary reinforcement. When paired with primary reinforcers, such as food, the clicker borrows value from those highly desirable consequences and helps predict them. In other words, when the dog hears that clicker sound, it feels in a fairly similar way to when you offer food. This means that if you cue your dog to go to her bed and the bed is 10 meters away from you, when the dog arrives at the bed and you click your clicker, you have already reinforced that behavior. However, do not stop there. Pair that secondary reinforcer with another desirable reinforcer. The more consistently the two reinforcers are paired together, the more reliable the clicker will be. If you only offer additional reinforcement after the clicker occasionally, the dog will learn that the clicker is not as trustworthy as other things in the environment, so the dog will look for additional information instead of the sound of the clicker. For optimal results, always pair the clicker with an additional tangible reinforcer. If you click, you treat. 2. The clicker works as a bridging stimulus. This is because it bridges the gap in time between correct behavior and delivery of reinforcement. The longer the time between correct behavior and arrival of reinforcement, the lower the rate of learning will be. For example, if you are teaching your dog to touch his nose to your hand, you can pretty much deliver a food reinforcer straight away. However, if you are trying to teach your dog to pull a rope to open a door and the door is far from you, you might perhaps only be able to offer reinforcement 5 or 10 seconds later. The bridging stimulus, or clicker, can bridge that temporal gap and buy you some time to offer reinforcement. 3. The clicker works as a marker. It allows the trainer to pinpoint a moment in time in which the correct behavior has been completed, almost like a camera taking a snapshot of a moment in time. For example, imagine that you are trying to teach your dog to lie down. The dog looks to the side, looks up, sits, and then lies down. If you click your clicker, the instant the dog lies down, she will know that that was the behavior that you were looking for. The theory is that the clicker will make it more salient for the dog to know which exact element of the last few things she might have done ended up resulting in reinforcement. According to the controlled experiments that I read, it seems pretty straightforward to be able to say that the clicker can work as a secondary reinforcer. The other two properties that I mentioned previously are very likely to be playing a role as well, but they are much harder to be isolated in controlled experiments. So, in mid-2021, here is my take-home message about this. The clicker uses reinforcement, bridging, and marker properties, and it helps the learner learn faster. A few additional notes and considerations about clickers. 1. There is some evidence that the neurotransmitter dopamine associated with feeling good is released when the dog hears the clicker. This will continue to happen as long as the clicker and food are used together. If you split the two and you only use the clicker, however, there will be a dramatic decline in dopamine. 2. The clicker is only one option. You can use a whistle, a word, or a hand signal. I personally often will use a word, especially if I need to have both hands available. 3. There are some behaviors for which the clicker may not be required. However, it is highly unlikely to do any harm to your training, and in many situations you will probably help your dog. 4. Once a behavior is learned and well established, you will not need the clicker anymore. The only exception would be if you trained a certain behavior to continue on until you use the clicker. 5. A small number of behaviors might do well with a partial schedule of reinforcement. Click and treat should still go together. You should not separate the two if you are using a partial schedule of reinforcement. If you click, you treat. I will leave some additional information in the description under the video. I hope you found this helpful. I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers! Hey guys, sorry, I should just quickly apologize because I showed up for the video with a totally murdered neck. I shaved and then pressed record shortly after, and for some reason I didn't even notice. My bad. Lesson learned. It's all good now. I'm better. It's less angry now. But yeah, all good. You have a good one. See ya. Bye.